Hey guys, into the end here. Let's do a draft. It's time to try and move into Masters in Limited. This is an interesting pack. A lot of really good cards. This is a very high power pack. Banish is really good, but I do think Zenin is one of the worst colors because Life Force is one of the worst mechanics. So it's perfectly fine to play a time-based deck and then splashing to black. Or I guess the other way around is fine too. So this is more like a splash card. Swindle is always very powerful. Card drawing is very important. Island's Choice is fantastic. I think the best cards in this pack, and most likely we'll end up picking, is one of these three cards here. The Swindle, the Island's Choice, or the Banish. And of these four, I'm going to take the Island's Choice. And the reason for that is because while both of these are removal spells, this kills anything with unit cost 4 or less, and that usually means it's a bad unit or a cheap unit. And cheap units are typically not that problematic. Like a 2-drop, a 3-drop, or 4-drop, you can usually just block with your own 3-drops and 4-drops. But Island's Choice gets you, allows you to kill the units that you can't otherwise deal with. Something that happens to have gotten very large because of weapons. Just a very large late game fatty you can get rid of with Island's Choice that you cannot get rid of with Banish. And Relics is less of a problem in draft than it is in constructed. So I think Island's Choice is a stronger of the two removal spells. And the negating a spell costing 4 more is not irrelevant. There are Swindle, for example, is a perfectly good card to negate. I mean, this actually uses the word negate. Huh, interesting. Because negate is a magic spell that does exactly the same thing. Well, not the same thing, but close enough. None of these other cards are close enough to these power levels that I would consider. I think both of the blue cards are among the better commons here. But I think we're just going to go ahead and grab Island's Choice. Oh, another reason is because Horu is a significantly better color combination than Zenin. If Zenin is one of the worst, then I think Horu is one of the best. So, there you go. Ooh, Skyguard. Skyrider Vanguard is very good for a kind of a tempo-ish, evasive blue-green deck. Definitely not taking any of the time cards. They both are quite poor. Archive Curator and Skyguard is probably close on, whereas the Skyguard is much more aggressive. The Archive Curator is a lot more defensive, but I think in a vacuum, I would take the Archive Curator over the Skyguard, but because we have a Island's Choice as our first pick, that's kind of the tiebreaker. These are, I think in my opinion, these are tied, but then this is the tiebreaker, so we will end up taking this card here. If this card wasn't here, we definitely take the Curator, and after that, the Blink Wolf and the Skycrack Stranger are the next top picks for me. So let's go ahead and take this Skyguard. Green, black, blue, red, time. Okay, so there is one of every color. Yeah, in every pack, there is a minimum of one card per color. So you can use that to gauge what has been taken as a sign to see what is not open. But all colors are here, so we're going to go ahead and take this here. That's not a good blue card. So my favorite cards in this pack, Talon of Nostrix, Sparring Partner, Blink Wolf, and Valkyrie Denouncer. One of these 4 cards is most likely our pick. We're not going to go into Zenin for the same reason why we didn't pick Banish for the first turn, and besides, this card's not fantastic. 8-drop is too expensive. I would like my game to be over by the time I hit 8 power, because with cards like these, we can evasive threats that has high power, we can hopefully make the games relatively short. So that makes me really want to get the Talon or the Sparring Partner. I think the Talon is better because the Talon is a pseudo removal spell. It's a lot more versatile than the Sparring Partner. In an empty board, they both do 2 damage, but having this in your hand allows you to make profitable trades in combat, especially if you absolutely have to get rid of one of the problematic creatures. You can throw away something weak and then trade this. It's a 2-for-1 card disadvantage, but it's I think it's worth it. And sometimes you can kill a 1-power unit and keep it around and kill another unit, which I think is good. Valkyrie Denouncer is very good, but it branches us into another color. So let's wait a few more picks before we decide if this is the direction we want to go. Because I'm okay with playing 3-color decks, but I think between the fact that this is cheaper to cast, so whenever I have basically 2 cards that are tied, you would always go with the lower casting cost card, usually as a tiebreaker. So we choose the Talon over this anyway. And besides, this is 1 color and this is 2 colors. Mentor, I think we can pick these up later on, and we can pick more 2-power 2/2s later on. The mentor ability is not very often relevant, so let's just go ahead and grab the 2/2 weapon here. All right, jackpot. These things are great individually, but they are even better in multiples. So let's just go ahead and snag that Vanguard. Another line breaker though, worth note. The last 2 packs were really similar. In fact, they look like... It looks like a majority of the cards are the same. Anyway, let's just take the Sky Guard. Whoo! Alright. I mean, if we need a sign to see that both blue and green are open, we need to look no further. Like, jeez. Wow, this deck is off to an amazing start. I cannot believe how good that card. Whew. Yeah, green and blue, open. Cloud Snake Breeder is really difficult to play. It's a 2-drop, but unless you have a lot of 1-drop evasive threads, or I guess just 1-drop threads, you're unlikely going to spark this on turn 2, so it's often not a 2-drop, and it's... If you don't spark it, it's pretty poor, and it does have a double blue influence. Not a huge fan of this card. I like the spell Shield Architect quite a lot. Especially because I have the Shelter Wing here. If they target it and get rid of the Aegis, this will give the Aegis back to it. And I think because of that, I will take the Architect over the Breeder. So once again, this is much more difficult to play. It's not really a 2-drop because you are unlikely to play this on turn 2. So for that reason, and also this has a very good intrinsic synergy with the Shelter Wing Rider. This is why the spell Shield Architect gets the nod. Ooh, this is... Yeah, Persecutor Arm is perfectly fine card. In fact, it's a very good card. But man, this weapon is amazing. Even if you... usually when you put a weapon onto a unit and your opponent kills it, it's a 2-for-1 disadvantage for you. But with this card, you kind of mitigate that problem a little bit by leaving behind a 2/2. And these kind of weapons, when put onto flying units, is just going to finish a game incredibly fast. Like a 5/3 Vanguard is going to end the game in 4 or 5 turns. Oh my, oh my, oh my. What do you do when there are just too many good things? Like, what do you do when there's just too many good cards? Wow. So I'm not going to take the Cyclops. I think I'm just going to take one of the flyers here. Jeez. Let's take the Roosting Owl. The problem is we take the Stormcrasher, we're sending a signal to our left that both green and blue are both open. If we take the Owl, we send a signal that only blue is open. I don't know if that makes a huge difference, but we don't have any 6-drops yet, and this is a very powerful 6-drop. I think the Stormcrasher and the Roosting Owl are pretty close, but I do worry that as we clock our 2 and 3 drops with really small flyers like these, that we're not going to be able to block our opponent's units. So let's just go for the 6. Oh, this is to me, this is a first pick quality card. To see it 4th last pick tells us really how open green is. It's actually remarkable that no one else is taking green at all. We'll grab that and be, oh my, oh my. I don't think this draft can go any better. Duelist Blade is incredible. Giving yourself Aegis is very relevant. A 4/4 weapon, easily to pick there. Take the blue card. Not gonna play it, but we'll take the blue card. Oh my. I don't know, can decks get any better? I think you just take the Scouting Party here because the raw power level is so high, but this Wild Cloud Snake is going to be very good in our deck. Like, we have so many flyers already, and we're pretty aggressive. No, we take the scouting party. If this was a slightly less powerful rare, I may take the Cloudscape for synergy reasons, but this card is just far too powerful on its own to give up. So we're gonna grab the scouting party here. Ah, too bad. I thought this was the Wind Shaper, the 2/4 that gives flying units +1/+1. Then that would have been just ridiculously good. But here, we're gonna go ahead and take the Bright Mace Paladin. This card is very, very good with weapons like the Cudgel. It holds the ground quite well, and 3-power 3/3s are more than welcome in our deck. The only other consideration is if you want to splash the Lethrai Falchion. And splashing the Lethrai Falchion onto a bunch of flying units is also very good, but that also means we have to waste some picks on color fixing, whereas the Bright Mace Paladin is a perfectly playable 3-drop. Monument is also good, but I think we want a unit. So the unit over the monument because it's less conditional, where this is a conditional card. And if I do take a weapon, then I would probably just take the Falchion, right? Because it's just so much better than the monument. Wow, this is a tough pick. All three of these cards are more than fine. We have some pretty heavy color requirements, like double green, double blue here. And this is a double black card. Splashing double black seems super ambitious. Yeah, that's okay. The more I think about it, the more I think this is just ridiculous. We're not gonna splash a double black card. Let's just take the Paladin here over the Trainer, which I think it's a little bit underwhelming. We can't have too many 2/2 flyers in our deck because your opponent can just race you with the regular ground units. We'll take the Bright Mace Paladin over the Monument, even though I do think the Monument is quite good. Sky Snapper is very good. But Lightning Strike is a removal spell, and the Minotaur Grunt is also very good. We're not gonna take. I think the 3 cards we'll choose between is Lightning Strike, Minotaur Grunt, and Sky Snapper. Normally, I would just grab the Sky Snapper without a second thought, but decks like this, it's really important that we have a lot of good defensive units on the 2-drop slot, so you don't get run over by your opponent's 2/3 drops. Because if they play a 2-mana 2/2 and you play nothing, and they play a 3-mana 3/3, and you're just playing these 2/1 3/1 flyers, they can easily run into your units with their because ground units are typically larger in size for the relative power investment compared to flyers, because you're paying for the flying. So you actually end up losing the race. Which is the risk. And having Reckless means you have to attack. I'm not a big fan of that. Lightning Strike and Minotaur Grunt are both good, but I think Minotaur Grunt has a slightly higher upside. It does a lot of what I want to do with Lightning Strike, but playing this on turn 2 as a unit, attacking with the backup of a Minotaur Oathkeeper as a 2/4 Warcry triggers, and when your Warcry triggers go into your flying units, that's really powerful. So let's just go ahead and pick up the Minotaur Grunt. I think here I'll take the. I think the Valkyrie Aspirant is maybe a little bit too aggressive for this deck, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe this is a District Infantry deck. Then we have some 6-drops. Huh. You know what? Let's go ahead and grab the 1-drop here. Maybe this is a District Infantry deck. Maybe we do want to go aggressive. Awakening Students is looking pretty good too. We actually don't have too many blue cards, but the blue cards that we have is very, very powerful. Well, we'll take the perfectly playable Lightning Strike here and not be too sad about it. Oh, Ice Spread is perfect. So is the Stranger. Ice Spread is perfect. It's a very strong tempo play. You disable one of your opponent's units, you get an additional flying attacker. It can get pumped by your vanguards. Everything says this is the pick. Our 3-drop is too high. What we need to do is start really focusing on getting 2-power units, like the Combray Stranger. This is perfectly fine. Half of the colors is on point. We want this for curve considerations over the Horu Fletchling. So we're going to go ahead and grab this 2-drop for color purposes. This actually, wow. If we pick up more Combray fixing, we can actually start playing the Awakened Students if they come around quite late. But I think Unstable Form is a perfectly viable removal spell, just to get rid of opponent's problematic. Like if they have a flyer and we just want to go in for some damage, we can just use it on their flyer and see if they turn into a ground unit, right? Yep, this is a perfectly playable 2-drop. Ooh, this is a very good 4-drop. This is exactly the kind of 4-drops you want in a evasive Flyers deck. You are just slowing down your opponent a little bit, attacking him for a little bit more damage. And a 3/3 blocker is perfectly fine. Violent Gust is... Oh, whew. I don't think... Wow. I don't think this deck could have gone any... I don't think this draft could have gone any better. This is exactly the kind of card your deck needs when you have a bunch of Flyers. This is the perfect last... This is the last pick. Yeah, our second last pick and last pick are things we would easily third, fourth, fifth pick with this deck. So the fact that we're getting a last meant that the colors are ridiculously open, and yeah, we're getting everything we need. I think the card that is best for this deck, ironically enough, might be the Cloud Snake Hatchling, just because the deck's looking pretty aggressive and you want to attack in the air. But we're gonna take Diogo because it's worth a lot of points. Or do we just want to win and pick up the Emerald Ring? The Emerald Ring, I think... Yeah. I didn't see the Emerald Ring, actually. I just got distracted by the shininess of this card. But I think the Emerald Ring is the best card for our deck. Giving your flying units +1/+1 every turn is great. Giving Bright Mace Paladin +1/+1 is great. How many Diogos do I own? I own 4, so all this is 800 stones. You know what? I don't need 800 stones. Let's get the We're gonna pick the Emerald Ring because if I was playing on a professional tournament, I would pick the Emerald Ring. This gives me the highest chance of winning the game. So let's just go ahead and take that. Ooh, Duelist Blade. Another one. That's very good. But I think here we're gonna take the 2-drop in Sparring Partner. I want more 2-drops, and the Sparring Partner is a perfectly playable card. We can mentor one of our Flyers later. We can mentor the Bright Mace Paladin, giving it lifelink. So that's a very good card. It kind of hurts passing up the Duelist Blade, but we already have one, and we're looking like we want 2-drops. And this is a perfectly good 2-drop. Yep. Curve considerations, grab the 2-drop. Well, maybe I should have grabbed the Diogo then. I'm definitely not taking Rebel Rouser. I think a deck cannot support 2 Emerald Rings, so I'm not going to pick that. I don't think this card is ever going to get activated, so... Yeah, this card's never going to get activated. I'm just going to go ahead and take the Stormcrasher or the Cyclops here. We don't have a lot of 4-drops, and this is a very good 4-drop. Our 3-drops are... We actually don't have that many flying units anymore. I'm actually going to go ahead and grab the Cyclops, because we can spark the Cyclops with a bunch of evasive units. Getting extra snowball is great. 4/3 makes it a pretty good blocker as well, and attacks fairly decently well. No, that's tough, because the Stormcrasher... I guess the question is, do I have enough strong ground units to hold the ground and not get run over? And I think the answer is not quite. We'll take the 4-drop. Oh man, this draft. Yeah, we're gonna slam dunk this thing. We're not even gonna look at anything else. I mean, that's a good card, and I would normally consider this card, but you just... Wow. That's ridiculous. This is a bad 2-drop. We don't want aggressive 2-drops like this that must attack. So in that case, we're just gonna grab this Shield Bash with the expectation that we're not gonna play it. Maybe I'll play it, who knows. That is a perfectly playable weapon for our deck. We're very, very heavy in green. And we have a lot of Flyers. This looks like the perfect card. Let's grab it. I think the Sparring Partner I like a little bit more than the Copperpearl Herald. I already have a lot of 1 power, like 1/3, 1/4s. I don't mind having some things that can brawl, but also like this has a kind of a passive benefit on giving one of my other important units +1/+1 later on in the game as a top deck. Versus in the very late game, if this is a top deck, I think a 3/5 is not as good as making something else of mine or that's already good even bigger. So let's just pick the Sparring Partner there. Yeah, we'll go ahead and take the Cerso's Meddling, but I don't think I'll play a 6-drop removal spell. Skywalk Instructor is perfectly playable. None of these are going to be in our deck, so it doesn't really matter. This deck is looking insane. This deck is crazy. Like, this deck is just close to constructed playable quality. Oh my lord. I'd be so sad if we lose this draft to Power Screw. Yeah, there's nothing to say. Hammer of Might is just ridiculously good. You wouldn't. Nothing here compares to Hammer of Might. Nothing is close. So, if this was not here, I would just take a 2-drop because I do like having more 2-power units. But yeah, you just Hammer of Might. Ooh, Cavalry is a very good 4-drop. The Cavalry is a good enough 4-drop that I would take it over the Minotaur Grunt. So let's just go ahead and grab that. Treasury Guard is perfectly playable because I have a lot of good weapons to put it onto it. But I'm not too worried on the 3-drop slot, and I don't mind having a better 2-drop because right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I have 7 playable spells in the first 2 turns, so I may not need the Argentport Soldier. But I don't imagine myself needing a Treasury Guard either. Although having Endurance is pretty good for putting weapons, but flying units are even better weapon carriers. So if I have a weapon, I would most likely put it onto a flying unit over the Treasury Guard anyway. With all said and done, Wisdom of the Elders might be something I would rather have over these cards because card draw is so effective. And the deck quality so far is just so insanely high that I don't think I need either of these units. You know what? Let's take the Wisdom of Elders. Negate is a pretty good sideboard. Well, not sideboard. Negate is actually a pretty good trick. Static Bolt doesn't seem amazing in our deck. I don't think we'll be relying on doing 2 damage to things. So I think Negate might be better, or even at this point, the 5 power 3/3 flying fledgling might be more playable. But man, we have so many good flying units already. Do we really need to play the 5-drop? No, I think we should get either one of the 2-drops, either the Static Bolt or the Backlash. And I think Backlash is maybe a little bit too conditional. Yeah, let's just grab the Static Bolt. Definitely not a Steadfast Deputy deck. Flash Freeze has some value in decks like this when you're basically trying to raise your opponent in the air with very good flyers. Let's just go ahead and grab that. I think I would want the 2-mana 1/4 more than the 2-power 2/2. Once again, I have very, very strong flying units in late game. All I care about is not dying in the early game. I would take the Levitate over the 2nd Frost Skin because my 4-drop and 5-drop slots are looking pretty full. I don't need another one of these, so let's just go ahead and grab the 1-drop. Detain can be a good trick, but let's grab a 2/3 Endurance unit. Whew, Stalwart Shield is something we can play in this deck. Wow, we're picking up very good cards very late. Like some of these 4th last pick cards we can easily pick 4th and be happy with. This is ridiculous. Because we picked up another 1/4, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Scaly Gruen. Because we picked up another one of these, we definitely don't need the Snowslinger anymore. But I don't think we'll play. Jeez. Yep. Yeah. Blue and green were just ridiculously open. This deck is going to be really hard to build because we have too many good cards. It's going to be actually quite difficult to balance out the curve, the speed, because we have some very powerful late game cards, but we also have a lot of really good early game cards. So we can either take this deck in a more aggressive direction or a more mid-range direction, and I think the deck will be good either way because we have just too many good cards. So let's just put in all the cards that we would consider and then look at it together, and we can work out. Whew, look at these, and we can work out the direction we want to take the deck. I'm gonna take Unstable Form as a removal spell. Snowslinger is looking decidedly poor in this deck. Only 1 copy of the Frost Skin because I think 2 is too much. No Shield Bash yet. We'll see if it's necessary later. That Stranger may not be necessary either. We're cutting out some good cards here, so have to keep in mind that we have another copy of Wisdom of the Elders. We do have Flash Freeze and Snowslinger and Violent Gust as a pretty good main deckable card, actually. And this is a 2-3 here, but I don't think we're going to play that 2-3. Yeah, already we have 34 cards. Let's start cutting. I think the first thing I will cut is District Infantry. District Infantry cannot go into the same deck as like 2-mana 1/4s. They are at exact odds with one another. If you're going to play District Infantry, you need to be more aggressive. You need more copies of Minotaur Oathkeepers. You need Finest Hours and Tricks. So you don't want that there. Levitate is a cantrip, and I will keep that. Minotaur's fine. Unstable Form is I'm uncertain about. One way this deck can lose is if my opponent plays a very large aggressive unit that I can't deal with. But man, we have a lot of stuns. We have this stuns, and then we have a lot of ways to this stuns, and we have a lot, and this also is a removal, and we also have a lot of ways to get around large units by flying over top, or even just making my units big enough to brawl even against opposing fatties. So I'm not sure how much value Unstable Form will give me. So let's just cut that for now. I don't need this card at all. If we have enough playable 2-drops, then I wouldn't want it. So between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we have 9 playable turn 1 and 2 cards. I don't think we need to combo a Stranger, actually. 17 units though, so we are getting low on unit count. So let's start cutting things that are not units. Talon and Static Bolt are exactly replaceable. And I don't think I need both of these effects. So let's just get rid of the Bolt there. These cards are all very good. These are all very good. Very good, very good, very good. I don't want to cut any more units, otherwise I would consider cutting one of the 4-drop blue units here, but I'm already really low on units. I think I'm going to cut the Cerso's Meddling. It is too expensive. I have too many 6-drops right now. The Skywalk Instructor may be a little slow as well. All the things that I want to use the Sky Instructor on are like already flying or relatively small, so I don't know how good this card is in the late game. But I do want to keep at least... I think I would like to have another unit if possible, so I'm looking for ways to add units back in. Roosting Hour works really well. Scouting Party is a bomb. The shield is good, the hammer is good. So I don't have anything else to cut. We have 5 spells and 7 attachments, so maybe we can cut one of the attachments in the shield. The hammer is obviously better, and the Emerald Ring is also obviously better, as it basically wins the late game. And the Cudgel is obviously better than the Star Wars Shield as well. So this is actually really tough to cut. And if I have to add another unit back in, I would love to be able to add... I'll add the Stranger back in because it is a 2-drop. So this is most likely going to be a 18 power deck because I have ways to use the power. Emerald Ring is a very good way to sink mana into. Wisdom of the Elders draws me more cards. So I think I can use the power. So we have to cut 3 more cards from this deck, and preferably not any units. This Talon of Nostrix is looking a little worse, but I do need some early game interaction. It's possible that I don't play Wisdom of the Elders, but that feels wrong. I may have to cut one of these 4-drops. Oh, there's another weapon here. Oh, I have a lot of weapons. I should think about cutting a weapon. I'm going to cut the Stalwart Shield, even though it is a very good weapon. Our curve is looking pretty high, and we have a lot of... we have 1, 2, plus the shield. That's 4 weapons that are 4 to cast. I think that's a little crowded there, and that's the worst of the 3 weapons, right? So let's just do it this way. Peacekeeper's Prod is pretty aggressive, but our deck is decently aggressive in the mid game, so I think that does fit the theme. So I have to cut 2 more cards, and preferably not units. Oh no, we have a Scouting Party, which is a unit, so we can probably cut 1 more unit then, in that case. If that is the case, I may very well cut this 3-3. No, cut the 4-3. Yeah, if we cut the 4-3, No, we'll cut the we'll cut the we'll cut the stranger again. So we're now at 17 lands. Levitate draws us a card. Wisdom draws us 2 cards. Maybe we can get away with playing only 17 power because we have some card draw and a lot of card draw. So maybe that's good enough. This is a very tough deck to make because I have too many options. The 3-drop is pretty expensive though. It's possible that we want to cut one of these 3-drop units, like for example the Wisdom of the Elders. But I feel like cutting Wisdom can't possibly be right. Now let's just play 17 power, with the hope that the Wisdom of the Elders can always draw us into a power. Shield Bash can be okay. Yeah, I think the deck is fine. It's too bad that we don't have no sideboards in this game, because we have a lot of very good sideboard cards to put in. Like, for example, the Violent Gust is a fantastic sideboard card. Flash Freeze is a very good sideboard card. If we want to slow our deck down, we can use Wisdom of the Elders as a very good sideboard card. Oh, let's cut the... Yeah, no, that's fine. This is fine. So we have 9 and 8, which looks okay to me. As long as we don't get power screwed, I think we will be great. I think there are a couple of card choices that I'm not very sure of during deck construction. I don't know if I should put the 2 units back in. I don't. We could definitely have made this deck differently. Let's put it that way. I think the way we have it now is probably okay. This deck is crazy powerful though. If it doesn't get power screwed, this deck has so many extremely powerful cards. I hope we do really well in this draft. I really hope we don't get power screwed. Thanks for watching.